All right, so are you ready to like dive deep?
Always.
Today we're unlocking some serious wisdom,
Okay.
exploring as a man thinketh,
Oh,
a
cool.
classic by James Allen.
Yeah.
And it's all about how our thoughts
Mm-hmm.
shape our realities,
Yeah.
health, success,
Yeah.
even our impact on the world around us.
Wow.
No biggie, right?
Yeah, no biggie. And the best part is, this isn't just some fluffy self-help stuff.
Right.
Alan dives into what he sees as a fundamental law of life.
Okay.
Kind of like cause and effect, but for our thoughts.
Okay, so let's unpack this a little bit.
Sure.
Allen comes out strong,
Mm-hmm.
right, from the first line of the book.
Yeah.
As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he.
It's powerful.
Bam.
Yeah.
How's that for a mission statement?
Right. But it
Right.
also makes you stop and think, what does he mean by in his heart?
Yeah.
It's not just about fleeting desires, is it?
Right.
It feels like something deeper. More about our core beliefs, those
Okay.
underlying convictions that drive us.
And that's where this whole mind garden analogy comes in.
Right.
He paints this picture of our minds as fertile ground
Okay.
and our thoughts.
Yeah.
Those are the seeds.
Makes sense.
So if we're not careful, we end up with a lot of weeds,
Yes.
negative thought patterns that can really take over.
Totally.
Have you ever felt that way?
Oh, yeah.
Like you're just stuck
For
in
sure.
a loop of negative thinking.
Absolutely. And that's why Alan stresses the importance of being mindful gardeners.
Oh.
It's about becoming aware of the thoughts we're planting,
Mm.
noticing those pesky weeds of doubt, fear, or insecurity.
It's like before you can even start planting what you want,
Yeah.
you got to clear out the stuff that's already there. Right.
Exactly.
So how do we weed our minds? What's like step one?
It all starts with awareness.
Okay.
Imagine actually looking at your garden,
Okay.
noticing which plants are thriving
Mm-hmm.
and which ones are choking the life out of everything else.
Right.
It's the same with our thoughts.
Okay.
Once we're aware of them,
Yeah.
we can start to choose which ones to nurture
Okay.
and which ones to, well, pluck out.
Okay. So we're being mindful gardeners.
Right.
But Alan takes it a step further.
Yeah.
Right. It's not just about our character.
Uh-huh.
It's about how those thoughts actually impact our circumstances.
Yeah, and he
Drops this truth bomb.
Okay.
Man is not the creature of circumstances.
Wow, circumstances are the creatures of men. Whoa.
That's good.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
He's basically flipping the script on its head.
Right.
It's not that we're just victims of fate,
Right.
at the mercy of whatever happens around us.
Hmm.
Alan argues that our thoughts are actually creating our reality.
It's powerful.
They shape our actions.
Yeah.
And those actions directly contribute to the circumstances we find ourselves in.
Totally.
And he gives some pretty vivid examples to
Sure.
illustrate this idea,
Yeah.
like the story of the poor man
Mhm.
who stays trapped in poverty
Right.
because he keeps making dishonest choices,
Right. Like it's a pattern.
or the rich invalid who clings to unhealthy desires
Interesting.
instead of taking control of his health.
Wow.
It makes you wonder.
Are we sometimes our own worst enemies?
And then there's the example of the employer who tries to cut corners in his business,
Right.
ultimately facing the consequences of his own actions.
Yeah.
These might seem like extreme cases,
Yeah.
but they highlight how our inner world plays out in the real world.
This whole idea could easily be misconstrued, though.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it could sound like we're blaming people for their misfortunes. Right.
Right.
So how does Alan address that?
It's a valid concern.
Yeah.
And Alan is very clear that suffering isn't about blame.
Okay.
He sees it more as a wake-up call,
Okay.
a signal that something's out of alignment.
Hmm.
Like if you keep touching a hot stove and burning yourself,
Yeah.
eventually you have to ask, what am I doing wrong?
So the pain isn't the problem, it's the messenger.
Exactly. And Alan injects this beautiful layer of compassion into it.
Okay.
He says,
Yeah.
and I'm paraphrasing here,
Sure.
that true growth begins when we stop whining
Okay.
and blaming external forces,
Right.
and instead start looking for the lesson,
Mm-hmm.
the opportunity for change that exists within every challenging situation.
Which is another way of saying,
Yeah.
stop fighting against reality
Right.
and start taking responsibility for your thoughts and actions.
Yes.
Instead of being a passenger,
Right.
you become the driver of your life.
Precisely. And that shift in perspective,
Yeah.
that's where the real power lies.
Okay.
Because once we stop feeling like we're at the mercy of our circumstances,
Mhm.
we can start actively shaping them.
I like it. So last time we were talking about how we can actually like shape our circumstances
Right.
instead of feeling stuck.
Yeah.
But what does that look like day to day?
Yeah, that's a great question.
How do we actually do that?
That's where this idea of purposeful thinking comes in.
Okay.
Alan's pretty clear that just drifting through life without intention,
Right.
letting your mind wander wherever it wants,
Yeah.
well, he compares it to sailing towards a shipwreck.
Okay. That's a visual I won't forget anytime soon.
Right.
So instead of drifting, we should be, setting a course.
Exactly.
Quickly.
It's about deciding what you want to focus on, what kind of life you want to create,
Right.
and then actively training your mind to get you there.
Okay.
He even compares it to an athlete training their body.
Yeah.
You wouldn't expect to run a marathon without putting in the work, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's the same with our minds.
Yeah. It makes sense, but it's
Yeah.
so easy to let your thoughts run wild,
Sure.
especially with all the distractions we have these days.
Right.
How do we even begin to rein them in?
Well, Alan argues we actually have way more control over our thoughts
Okay.
than we think.
Okay.
We might not be able to choose what happens to us,
Right.
but we can choose how we think about it.
Okay.
And that's what shapes our reality. It's like if you get stuck in traffic,
Okay.
you can get all stressed and angry,
Yeah.
or you can choose to put on some music,
Right.
relax,
Yeah.
and accept that you'll get there when you get there. Same situation, different thoughts, totally different experience.
So it's not about this magical thinking where you just wish for something and it appears.
Not at all.
Okay.
It's about aligning your thoughts with the reality you want.
Okay.
And that takes effort.
Right.
It means recognizing those negative patterns, those
Yeah.
weeds in the garden we talked about,
Yeah.
and consciously choosing to cultivate more positive, empowering ones.
Okay, so this is where it gets really exciting.
Yeah.
Putting it all into practice
Right.
and actually achieving our dreams.
Exactly.
Alan uses some pretty inspiring examples to show how this actually works in the real world.
Right. He talks about people like Christopher Columbus,
Oh, wow.
Copernicus, Buddha,
Yeah.
people who had these huge, audacious dreams.
Mhm.
That seemed impossible at the time.
Yeah.
But because of their unwavering belief
Right.
and their persistent effort,
Yeah.
they were able to turn those dreams into reality.
He even has this line that gave me goosebumps.
Okay, what is it?
The greatest achievement was, at first, and for a time, a dream.
I love that.
So basically that crazy dream you've been holding on to.
Yeah.
It might not be so crazy after all.
And here's the thing.
Yeah.
Alan doesn't just talk about external success.
Okay.
He ties it all back to inner peace.
Which, let's be honest, is pretty important if you want to actually enjoy any of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He writes about how serenity is the last lesson of culture, the fruitage of the soul.
Okay.
It's like this deep sense of peace and contentment that comes from mastering your mind and aligning your thoughts with your highest self.
I don't know about you, but in our fast-paced,
Right.
constantly connected world,
Yeah.
serenity feels more like a superpower than ever.
100%. And it's not just about chilling out on a beach somewhere. It's about cultivating that inner stillness
Right.
that allows you to navigate the ups and downs of life with grace and clarity. And that's something anyone can develop, regardless of their circumstances.
Welcome back to the show.
It's great to be back.
We're wrapping up our deep dive into James Allen's As a Man Thinketh.
Okay.
And to be honest, this next part is what really blew my mind.
Oh, really?
Get ready to explore the connection
Okay.
between our thoughts and our physical well-being.
Okay.
It's deeper than you might think.
It really is. And what's fascinating is how much Alan's insights resonate with what we're now discovering about the mind-body connection.
Right, yeah.
He was ahead of his time in seeing how powerful this link truly is.
He comes right out and says it.
Okay.
The body is the servant of the mind, not the other way around.
Right. And he goes on to argue that our bodies are basically reflections of our thoughts.
Okay.
He even uses the phrase, sickly thoughts will express themselves through a sickly body.
Wow.
And hasn't everyone experienced this on some level?
Right.
Stress, headaches, anxiety keeping you up at night?
For sure.
It's like our bodies are constantly giving us feedback.
Okay, that's a bit of a sobering thought.
Yeah.
But it makes sense.
Yeah.
Our physical health isn't just about what we eat or how much we exercise.
Right.
It's also about what's going on in our minds.
Absolutely. And here's the flip side,
Okay.
which is actually really empowering.
Yeah.
Alan talks about how strong, pure, and happy thoughts build up the body in vigor and grace. It's not just about avoiding negative thoughts. It's about actively cultivating positive ones, right?
Right.
Because those have a real tangible impact on our physical well-being.
So if we're constantly thinking about being healthy and strong,
Yeah.
could that actually make us healthier and stronger?
Alan would say yes.
Wow.
He even suggests that when our thoughts are pure,
Yeah.
we naturally gravitate towards healthier choices. It's like
Right.
our actions start to align with that inner state of well-being.
Okay, I've got to ask about this one example he uses.
Okay,
He talks about a so-called saint who doesn't bathe.
right. It's a bit out there. But it's Alan's way of saying that true purity is holistic.
Okay.
It's not just about outward appearances,
No.
about aligning our inner and outer worlds.
Okay.
So maybe taking a good hard look at the choices we make and whether they're actually supporting our overall well-being.
Got it. So no more using deep thinker as an excuse for skipping the gym.
Exactly. Alan would say taking care of our bodies is a way of respecting the mind's home.
Right. And it's not just about physical health, right?
Yeah,
He also talks about how our thoughts influence our appearance,
he does.
wrinkles our expressions,
Mm-hmm.
even just the vibe we give off to others.
He does, and it's such a profound observation. He
Wow.
says, a sour face does not come by chance. It is made by sour thoughts.
Right.
It's a powerful reminder that our inner world is constantly being projected outward,
Yeah.
whether we realize it or not.
Okay, so if our thoughts have this much influence
Yeah,
over our health, our success, even how other people perceive us,
right.
how do we cultivate that inner peace, that calmness of mind that Alan talks about?
He's a big advocate for self-control,
Okay.
really understanding ourselves as thought-evolved beings
Mm-hmm.
and recognizing that law of cause and effect we talked about earlier,
Right.
the more we grasp that we're literally creating our reality through our thoughts,
Yeah.
the more we can step into that place of calmness and control.
So it's like that whole peace be still idea,
Yeah,
but Alan actually gives us the tools to make it happen.
precisely. It's not about passively hoping for a better life.
Right.
It's about actively creating it through our thoughts, our actions,
Right.
and most importantly, our belief in our own potential.
So much good stuff in there.
Yeah, there really is.
As we finish this deep dive,
Yeah.
what's the one thing you hope listeners will walk away with?
That they have the power to change their lives. Okay.
One thought at a time, and to quote Alan directly,
Yeah.
because this one really stuck with me.
Okay.
Your vision is the promise of what you shall one day be. Your ideal is the prophecy of what you shall at last unveil.
Powerful stuff. So to our listeners, we ask,
Yeah.
what one belief, if you chose to change it today,
Yeah.
could have the biggest ripple effect in your life?
It's a good question.
Think about it until next time. Keep diving deep.